Itself, the international coalition says aerial strikes have successfully halted the forces of Colonel Gaddafi. There are reports over 60 people have been killed so far. The US says it's fired more than 12 cruise missiles at targets on Monday, and Canadian planes have now joined the action too. Western officials claim to have destroyed a command centre used by the Libyan army in Tripoli, but deny that Gaddafi was a target. Let's get more from Paula Sleer now. She's in Tripoli for us, the capital. Paula, good evening to you. Now, there were more strikes and fighting overnight. What is the situation in Libya now? Bring us up to date, if you will.
Well, what we're hearing from the coalition forces is that they've hit 124 targets. They're saying that the operation has been successful, that they've stopped the ground advancement of Gaddafi's troops, and that for 2 days now his air force has been unable to take to the skies. We're also hearing that the no-fly zone is now being extended westwards and southwards over this country. But at the same time, there is intensive fighting in Misrata. It's the last rebel-held town in the west of this country. It's about 200 kilometers to the east of the capital city of Tripoli. We're hearing reports that Gaddafi's men have completely surrounded the town, that they've cut off all supplies of electricity, fuel and water. We're hearing reports that at least 7 people have so far been killed today, Monday, that some of those Gaddafi men are in the city centre in civilian clothing, and this is raising alarm bells over the whole question of sleeper cells being activated. We're also receiving very worrying reports that civilians have been brought in from other cities and towns to act as human shields against any possible coalition airstrikes. This is in stark contrast to the town of Benghazi, which was the focal point of fighting for much of the past few days and weeks. That is the rebel stronghold in the east. But rebels there saying that they now are leaving the town, advancing westwards and trying to recapture some of the towns and cities that they lost in fighting.
Paula, there's been some confusion too about Muammar Gaddafi's whereabouts. What are the latest reports about him tonight?
Well, nothing's been heard from Gaddafi himself since Sunday, when he gave a 15-minute address to Libyan state television. He did not appear on camera, but he was very defiant in that address, saying that he would not step down, and again calling this international response illegitimate. We are hearing from coalition forces that Gaddafi himself is not the target. This is despite the fact that they hit his compound on Sunday night. But here on the ground, there's a growing confusion in terms of what is the end game of this international operation. The rebels are increasingly calling for some kind of air cover as they move westwards, as they advance back over territory they've lost. And no doubt the international community, if it says it is there to protect the peace, will need to respond to those calls in some kind of a manner. But that response might see innocent civilians being killed. So there's that kind of tension here. And it certainly is only made more confusing by some of the statements we saw coming out of Britain today. There we saw the British military saying that Gaddafi remains a legitimate target because he is the head of the army here. Now, at the same time, the questions in terms of how this will end are being answered here by saying either in a stalemate or in some kind of a failed state, where you would see the rebels perhaps holding on to power in the east and Gaddafi remaining onto power in the west. But people are asking the question whether indeed this is in the best interests of Libya.
All right, Paula, thank you for bringing us up to date there. Paula Sleer in Tripoli. And our correspondent's been in Tripoli, indeed, for the past fortnight, following every twist